But
Well, I'm going to go on a big limb because I have a guy who is in the Hall of Fame, and I truly don't believe belongs there. It shocks me that he's in the Hall of Fame. And he's a guy that got in for his story and nothing more, and that is Kurt Warner on my number two. I don't understand how this guy's in the Hall of Fame. This guy was a career backup. He was benched at
four
every
times.
stop 4 times. He was listen to this list. He lost his starting job to Mark Bulger, to Josh McCown, to Eli Manning, and to Matt Leinart. One of those three are Hall of Famers because they won 2 Super Bowls. And you could even argue Eli Manning's numbers without the Super Bowls don't warrant him being in there. He does because he won those two and he had a really solid career. I just don't understand. This guy was a turnover machine. Listen to these. He had, even during the greatest show on turf, this guy threw 53 interceptions, had 23 fumbles. That's just his time with the Rams before he got benched for Mark Bulger.
And he doesn't even get in if Trent Green doesn't get hurt.
Right. This guy was never planned to be the starter. He gets kicked out of Green Bay so fast, he was barely there for a week. Has a great arena football. I have no doubt that he should have gotten his
He's a
shot.
great story.
He's an unbelievable story. They're making a movie on him, as they should. But he doesn't belong with a gold jacket. I thought after 5 years of him being away from the game, people would realize, hey, this guy was benched 4 times. He was a career backup. Now, I love his story with Eli Manning, right? He gets pulled. Eli Manning's struggling. They're going to put Warner back in, and he goes to Coughlin and says, "Listen, you cannot bench him again. It's going to ruin his confidence. I'm here to be the backup. That's what I was here to do." Even he admits, I was here to be a backup.
Right.
He won 1 Super Bowl with the greatest show on turf, where he had Marshall Faulk, he had Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Orlando Pace, all Hall of Famers in their
Yes.
own right. I don't think Torrey Holt got in yet, but he should be in there. He goes to Arizona where he has Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden when he was in his prime.
Look,
I mean, he had a great Super Bowl performance, but Larry Fitzgerald had a much better game. I mean, I
I
could throw to Larry Fitzgerald.
look. He was going to be on my list as well, but when I heard you grabbed him, the only person happy about him being in the Hall of Fame is Joe Namath because he's no longer the weakest quarterback in the Hall of Fame.
And that's only because he got hurt.
Yes.
I mean, Joe Namath was great for, what, 3, 4 years,
No,
but then
he
he,
was great for most of his career.
well,
Joe Namath is
he was good for most of his career. I'm
Joe
just
Namath
saying
is arguably one of the most important quarterbacks in the history
he
of the
is. He
game.
is. And the only reason I say that Joe Namath wasn't great for all of his career is because his knees were so bad, especially at the end. I'm surprised the dude can still walk.
That was in a time where surgery was more like
Well, how many
Stone
times did
Age.
they experiment on his knees? I'd have to look it up, but I know he had a ton of surgeries. But
Yeah.
Kurt Warner didn't have that excuse. Kurt Warner was benched again. Mark Bulger, Josh McCown. Hall of Fame quarterbacks don't get benched for those two guys. For Matt Leinart, Kurt Warner was on that team when they drafted Matt Leinart. The Arizona Cardinals said, "We don't think you're good enough to be our starting quarterback, so we're going to draft Matt Leinart." By the way, he was only with them for a year when they made that decision.
I think the best thing to say about Kurt Warner is every time the game required it, the situation was dire, he'd step up and was capable of taking a team and putting him on his back and leading him to the Super Bowl.
Did he? Because look what happened against the Patriots the next year. They had a chance to make the drive and he couldn't make it happen. Adam Vinatieri makes one of the greatest kicks in the history of
Sure.
the NFL. It was unbelievable. And he won an MVP, and he should have won the MVP. The same way Cam Newton should have won the MVP when he won in 2015. But you can't sit here and say Cam Newton's a Hall of Famer because he won an MVP, because he's not. I mean,
Look,
he is now. I mean, if Kurt Warner's in the Hall of Fame, I mean, Cam Newton has to be in the Hall of Fame.
well, if Kurt Warner's in the Hall of Fame, Jim Plunkett belongs in the Hall
Yeah,
of Fame. And Plunkett was a #1 draft pick, but he came in the same thing. He led two Raiders teams
he did.
to Super Bowl wins.
He was benched
Eli
several times in
Manning,
his career. Ken Anderson.
yeah.
You have Kurt Warner in the
Oh,
Hall of Fame. You don't have Ken Anderson in the Hall of Fame.
Ken Anderson is a much better quarterback.
Sterling Sharp. one of the greatest receivers of all time, just got hurt. He had a neck injury, or he's on those Super Bowl Packer teams. You have Kurt Warner in the Hall of Fame and not Sterling Sharp? How long did it take Tim Brown to get in the Hall of
Mhm.
Fame? And Kurt Warner's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
That's what really blew me away. You say a lot of
You
things.
because Terrell Owens is a big mouth, you took the third greatest receiver of all time and didn't allow him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is a joke. I agree with T.O. not showing up because that was unacceptable. But yet you have Kurt Warner as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
What do you
How
want
a
me to?
Hall of Famer doesn't get benched for Josh McCown.
What do you want me to tell you? He is a media darling.
He's
He's got
great on the air.
an
He could be a Hall of Famer as an analyst for
sure,
sure.
maybe. He's got a great story. He was a grocery store bagger, you know,
Unbelievable story.
and I think that's what people
I
fell in
mean, he's a
love
great
with.
story just because he was forced to live in Iowa, which is not a fun place to be. But I've been there. He played minor league ball there. Not making fun of Iowa. It's flat and it's windy and it's cold.
I'm not participating in this conversation. I love a lot of people that live in Iowa. Thank you for watching.
I do too. I do too. I've heard Des Moines has made itself look a lot nicer than I remember.
Back to Kurt Warner before we
Back to
lose
Kurt
any
Warner.
audience we'll ever have in Iowa.
I love Iowa. I went to camp there when I was a kid. I like Iowa. But back to Kurt Warner,
Field of
he
Dreams.
shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He shouldn't. I don't to this day I don't understand how he was put in the Hall of Fame.
Uh,
You have a lot of great players that weren't in there. Jerry Kramer took so long to get in. You have Leroy Butler, another great Packer's not in there. Ken Anderson isn't in the Hall of Fame.
well, hopefully Leroy Butler's going in this year.
Yeah, hopefully
I
Ken Anderson gets in there. I just don't get how you can now look at players and look at their records and not put them in the Hall of Fame. I
I
mean,
hope
you set
somebody
your precedent with Kurt Warner going in.
and I hope somebody who's watching can give me a better defense for why Kurt Warner should be in the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer because honestly, he was on my overrated list as well.
I don't know. I don't know, but we got to move on to your number one. Like you said, defend him. Please defend why this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he should. I love Kurt Warner as an analyst. Again, his story is great, but this is a man that was benched 4 times in his career. He had 3 Super Bowl runs, which is awesome. But like you said, Jim Plunkett took 2 Raiders teams to Super Bowls, and that dude's not in the Hall of Fame.
No, he's not. Eli Manning's another guy. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Should be in the Hall of Fame, but I don't put Kurt Warner at it, that elite level to wear a gold jacket. I just don't.
I don't either. It makes no sense to me.